Welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. I got another thing for Christmas here that's pretty cool. It's the Fix It Felix little mini arcade cabinet. You know, this thing that's only a few inches high. Last year I got this, the Cubert, and really loved that, especially because it's got the correct controller, like in those not in the four cardinal directions, it's like an X shape or whatever. And the really nice thing, I like this, I've got another one, Joust. A lot of people have talked about this, but I wanted to talk about this one here, the Fix It Felix, because I did a video a couple years ago where I talked about my favorite version of Fix It Felix. And I was surprised that the one that I actually ended up liking was a surprise one. It was for the Atari 2600. And in that video, what I did is I compared the different versions of Fix It Felix that exist that you can get, including this one here, which is a homebrew for the Genesis. Now, when I saw this little console mini arcade thing advertised, I thought, oh, that looks pretty good. And I thought it was actually this Genesis ROM that's inside here. A problem with the Genesis ROM, it's a good game, but it doesn't do certain things. Like there's this non-skippable intro on it, which I don't really like. I mean, I like the intro, but I don't like the fact that I can't just hit A to skip it. I have to watch it every single time I play the game. And it's good. I don't like the controls too well. I really was quite surprised how I was not as big of a fan of this as I thought I would be. However, when this was announced, the Fix It Felix mini arcade cabinet, I thought, yes, I love Fix It Felix in concept, and I really like this art style, I like the way they've done the cabinet here. I'd definitely like to do it, like to get it, but I thought it's just going to have that Genesis ROM inside, isn't it? It doesn't. It's some other custom version. I think some people have said it's maybe an NES ROM. That's always possible. So I've played this a few times, and I know a lot of people have done videos about this, so I'm not bringing anything new to the conversation, but a friend of mine did say he wanted to get one. Do I like this? Is it any good? So I thought for his benefit, if nothing else, I'll do a review. I find that this game is good, but it's very... I'm going to play it here, and because it's hard to talk and concentrate on a complex game at the same time, I'm going to tell you right now what is sort of good and bad about it. It's very good. Really like it. Really like the cabinet. Really like the control. It was actually very good considering it's just on this little small joystick here. I do find the game is super easy at first, and you're going to hear a little tune that plays, and I'll point it out when it does, of getting another life. This game hands you extra lives like they're going out of fashion. Like there's just tons of these extra lives that are being handed to you. And at first I was thinking, well, I'm passing each level real quick, and I've got 10, 12 extra lives all standing by, so this is not challenging in any way in the slightest. But around level 5, and I hope I get that far, the challenge level does get up there, and you start burning through those lives pretty quick. So my initial complaint of it's way too easy, once you reach level 4 or 5, it does get pretty hard. So let's have a game. Alright, press start. Oops, sorry, that's start there. Just move, and this is what you use to fix. Nope, start again, sorry. There we go. Nope, it's a little dark, or a little overwashed. See if I can adjust my camera. Okay, you can see a bit better there what's happening. No voices, no Fix It Felix! But that's okay. You don't hear Ralph saying, I'm gonna wreck it! Which would have been, a nice touch. Again, not possible, or it's not on this ROM. Maybe that was a licensing problem. Maybe they have to pay the actors. Did you hear that sound just now? I just got an extra life. I've got 3 still, and it's not going to be much of a challenge. So why did it give me an extra life already? At first I wasn't too much of a fan of that. Oh, let's go down here. But as I say, it does get harder, and that's when you need those extra lives. 1 window to go. Come on, Ralph, get out of the way. There we go. It looks quite nice, like you can actually play this fairly easily considering it's such a small screen. I like that about it. And they do give you the pies as well. I'm hoping somebody's going to throw out a pie so that I get the invincibility mode. My technique has been, in that case, there's another extra life. When you get the pie handed out and you can pick it up, go for the top row of windows right away, because it's a lot harder to do those as the game ramps up in difficulty with Ralph right up there. Oh, there's the pie. Now I'm invincible, so I'm going to go to the top row. And the nice thing is, with invincibility pie going on, you only have to hit the button once in order to get both of the frames fixed. Now, it's just that little bit hard to see on this small screen. It's very doable, but with a game that has so much detail, I find it's just that little bit hard. A little bit squinty. And unfortunately, this is the only way that there is no non-skippable intro. You have to sit through that every time. But now I can play. I do also find there's another extra life. See, they're handing them out like it's going out of style. Get the pie. All fixed. All fixed. All fixed. All fixed. All fixed. Oh, no, I didn't do it in time. Okay, now I have to hit it twice. Yeah, so again, you'd think, this is so easy. Like, how can this be of a challenge at all? It is going to get more and more difficult. And like with the Genesis and arcade port that exists out there, if you can find it, talked about it in my other video, eventually you do get to the point where there are shutters blocking your way, there are birds, ducks flying past, and even like flower pot little platforms in your way so you can't just jump up. Now, I don't know if I'm going to encounter those. I'll probably edit a bit here because I got to get to a stage where it starts getting really hard. But, let's get the pie. A complaint that I have is that on this small screen, those little shutters... There's another extra life. I haven't even used up one yet and they're handing them to me. Anyway, yeah, when it gets to the point where there's platforms or things in your way... In fact, there is one on this level. Okay, here come the ducks. And they're fine. But I can just about make out... Let's get the pie. And then I will show you... Can you see that there is, in fact, a flower pot thing on this level that's blocking my progress? No? Because it's really hard to see. Here, I'll show you. I gotta get the duck out of the way and then Ralph out of the way. Yeah, if I go down here, I can't go up. Because very, very hard to see there is a blue line to indicate flower pots in my way. So that's another downside. That's something else I'm not a huge fan about with this game. It's a little bit hard. You really gotta squint sometimes as they hand out yet another life. What am I at now? 12 or something? Anyway, let's get the pie. Oh, you actually got me there. But now I've got the pie power, so I'll just go along. Yay. Alright, well, I'll tell you what. That's level 2. I'm going to stop the video for a sec, and then I'm going to play until I get up to about level 4 or 5, and I'll show you. It does get quite complicated. Okay, here we go. So I've adjusted my brightness so it's not quite so bloomed out there. This is pretty representative of what the screen looks like. Very, very nice. And now we're on level 4, and it is starting to get hard now. So I've got a pile of extra lives. Those little 3 heads in the upper left corner, those are not representative of how many lives I actually have. I've got tons. But I just got another one. But you know what? You kind of need them at this point. So don't be put off by, my goodness, they are handing out a lot of lives real fast here. You need them. thing that is a bit of a surprise to me is I have a higher score than this. I've gotten farther than level 4, and it's not represented in the high score up there like you would think. Let's go get the pie. I would have thought, I don't know what's all involved in getting, oh dear. I don't know what's all involved in these little devices storing the high score, but I would have thought surely you could keep track of my all-time high score up here. It does refresh every time you turn on and off the console. And it's got batteries built in, like, I don't know why. I thought some of these things did hold on to your high score. This one does not. Hardly the end of the world, but I thought, yeah, it's not endearing itself to me. And as good as this little joystick is, when you get to this point in the game where you really need to be quite nimble, it's not great. I'm finding the up, for whatever reason, because you're pushing to go up, and you do that a lot in this game, it's not really best designed for it. I do like these joysticks, like especially on Cubert it works very well, but on this one, I don't know. It's showing the limitations, I guess. So it's a kind of another negative. But having said that, it's a really good version of Fix It Felix, and it's not terribly expensive. It's better than the Genesis one. There is, as I mentioned in my in my other video where I reviewed 4 different versions of this thing. There's one on iOS, but unfortunately that was promotional, and you can't get, if you hadn't bought it when it was first new, at least here in Canada, you can't buy it anymore. I've seen people play it on like their iPads and stuff, and they really like it, and I would like to be able to play it, but I can't because it's past the licensing availability, I guess, now, and so I can't play Fix It Felix on iOS, which is a real shame. Oh, okay, see, I tried to jump up just now, trying to get to that last top left window, and I can't because there is actually a flower pot thing in the way. I didn't see that because it's a little bit hard to see on this screen. Let's get over there. I'm glad they're there. I'm glad of the challenge, but it is getting really hard at this point of the game. Anyway, so this is the Fix It Felix Jr. mini arcade cabinet. I like this game. You know, as I mentioned in my previous video, I like that in the modern era, somebody came up with another Donkey Kong-esque game without it being Donkey Kong, something very original. See, there's one in the way there. But my options for playing this game are rather limited. There is an arcade ROM that I have, which is great. I play it on Vol, my main machine. Very good, except not always easily accessible. Can't get the iOS one. Love the Atari one. And I'm glad this thing exists because this allows me to kind of get my Fix It Felix fix in, if you will, pardon the pun. So I'm very, very happy with this. I like this. If you can get this, definitely do so. Just be aware, it's got a few weird quirks to it. It is, thankfully, not the victim of the non-skippable intro like the Genesis version. But it does hand out... didn't see that there was a shutter in the way. It does hand out new lives like crazy, but by this time of the game, you really need those extra lives. It is challenging. And I don't know if I'm even going to get through this last bit here without the game ending on me. Hang on, one more. Oh! And you see, at this level, Ralph is really bashing a lot of extra windows, so you gotta move fast. Come on. There we go. Phew. Okay. Yeah, so I'll end the video there, but this mini arcade Fix It Felix, I really like it, despite its shortcomings. Ooh, there's even one that's a closed-off window there. Yeah, the variety at this stage gets pretty good. And level 5, a lot harder. Alright, well, he's starting to knock me for 6 here. I'll end it there. Fix It Felix Jr. mini arcade cabinet. Got it for Christmas as well, and I really like it. And until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.